Okay, so this is the walkthrough for question 3 OEQ part E 2021 2236 paper 2. Okay, so the question is on degenerative diseases. Statement is degenerative diseases cause a higher proportion of death than infectious diseases. To what extent do you agree with this statement? Use examples to support your answer. So basically what you will need to do is you will have two main paragraphs, right? One dealing with the degenerative diseases and then one dealing with your infectious diseases. Now, what is important here is from quite a few of you who attempted this question here, there is not enough of a descriptor given for what exactly is a degenerative disease, what makes it different from an infectious disease, who tends to get degenerative diseases, why that is so. Instead, a lot of scripts that actually attempted this particular question had an overemphasis on giving us a full list, a laundry list of what these degenerative diseases are and what the various impacts of these degenerative diseases may be. So bear in mind that while that is very important and useful, we do really need you to also give an account of what degenerative diseases are, because if you don't, right, it is very unclear. It seems as you just memorize the disease itself and the symptoms. Okay, so like this particular candidate here, she started off with a very clear statement that degenerative diseases can cause death. Okay, then she goes on and talks a little bit about what are some of the basic causes, like lifestyle, like hereditary genetic causes, right? And then she goes on and talk about a couple of these common degenerative diseases that we can endure or be afflicted with as a member in the DC. So she has a very clear focus that this tends to affect people in DCs. However, you need to also note, if you are dealing with something like this, it is not exclusive to DCs. Okay, some of these diseases can afflict people in LDCs as well, because not everybody in the LDC lives the LDC lifestyle, right? So keep that in mind. So you look at her paragraphing here all the way until the middle point here, where she talks about the DCs are the ones who live longer and as a result have a higher chance of being susceptible to all these diseases. This is all okay. Then she goes on and talks about not getting enough exercise being one of the key reasons why people become obese. Then at this point here, actually what would have been a bit better would be a development on then what happens with obesity. Okay, linking it out to something that is more tangible, something that would directly cause either death or severe implications to your lifestyle itself. So that portion there is missing. She then goes on to talk about diseases like cancer for those with relatives. That is actually not really needed here. So that portion I have actually written not needed here. So sometimes this instead of writing about unnecessary things like this, further descriptions about what we talked about on obesity, that will have actually served her purpose even better. Okay, then moving on, she tries to end up with some inevitable, some can be incurable. Degenerative tends to then lead to a high death toll. Now, you have to be very clear what are these incurable ones that you're talking about, because you gave a laundry list of 3 to 4 above, and then it is unclear which are the ones that cannot be cured at all, or cannot be resolved to the point where it doesn't cause death in the near future. Okay, then she goes on and talks about the second paragraph, which is infectious diseases, okay, causing a lot of deaths. Okay, then she focuses on what is communicable and what is contagious, right? So I think the essence of it is there, because she doesn't stop there. If she stopped there without the next sentence, then yes, something is missing here. But she does try to mention that its transmission is by microorganisms, viruses, or bacteria spread from one person to another. Okay, there is a lot of descriptor here. I think almost one whole sentence of it describing how you can catch an infectious disease. Okay, that's fine. It's quite a bit lengthy, but it's actually still okay. Occurs at higher rate in LDCs than DCs. Okay, this is important here. I would have expected a clearer explanation after this, maybe 1 line or 2 lines explaining why do you expect this to be higher in LDCs than DCs. Okay, then going on, she starts listing the examples of what she feels are important infectious diseases that she wants to talk about: HIV, pneumonia, dengue, right? And then she moves on and talks a bit more about HIV being incurable, and how it is a problem in LDCs. Okay, so we move on and we take a look at the next part of our answer. LDCs, DCs, right, overextended, they are unable to provide access of this medication, and therefore people will succumb to the disease. Okay, right, so this part here is okay. Now the main problem with this is not highlighted. So is this actually a money issue, right, or is it a time issue where the onset of disease to the point where it becomes critical is too short, right? Infectious disease. So what exactly is your main focus here? Because later on you're going to have to use that as your assessment criteria. So then she goes on and talks about disagreement with the statement that degenerative diseases cause a higher proportion, okay? And then she talks about how degenerative diseases occur more in DCs compared to LDCs. So when at this point here, we look at it, right, it seems as if, so if it is disagreement, then the reason seems to be because it happens in DCs more, then it's a numerical issue. So is it that this candidate here is trying to imply that DCs have then got less people, okay, compared to LDCs? So that is not impossible line of argument to take, but bear in mind, right, there are indeed more people in LDCs than DCs. Okay, so you look at China, India alone, that accounts for over almost 3 billion humans out of the 7 plus billions on Earth. Okay, so there are more people in LDCs than DCs. That is actually one very strange route that nobody actually took. It's very basic, very low level, but it is actually accurate. So you can actually think about it that way. Okay, then she goes on and talks about people can go to doctors and create and can get treatment in DCs, even though it's prolonged, but LDC sometimes access to this is not always available. Okay, so people in LDC succumbing to infectious diseases, succumbing to degenerative diseases, more than the people in DC succumbing to degenerative diseases. So you disagree with the statement. Now, succumbing to the disease, right? This point here is once again not very clear. How many people are you looking at? Which specific countries are you using as your evidence for this comparison or this statement here? Okay, now once again, assessment criteria is not very clear in this particular evaluation paragraph. What is your criteria? Is it poverty? Is poverty the cause of this? Because poverty can lead to lack of income, lack of ability to afford then the medication to kick in to deal with either infectious or degenerative disease. Okay, or is it lack of access? Is it some areas just don't have access to it? Okay, the government may be able to have money for the medication, but they are not able to get it to everybody. So what are we looking at? The assessment criteria here has to be clearer. So as a result of that, this question here, a couple of issues with the paragraphs in front. Maximum that she will possibly get is L25 for this. Okay, so hopefully this gives you some sort of idea as you read through your own assignment. Okay, look at the markings for your OEQ that you have submitted. This is roughly what we are looking for in this particular question. Okay,